So we are moving at quite a pace. We've mentioned some great tips and, of course, surviving, thriving, growing. We want to do that, especially in the next 12 months, and help is at hand. We have got access to funding. You may not have found it yet, but my next guest will help you. He's been described as the Martin Lewis of the grant and funding market. I'm delighted to have been joined by Drew Currie. Drew, we've just been talking over in the green room. I saw your notes. I had a little sneaky look. And point number one was that a lot of these grant and funding bodies, I don't care about all of your logos and glitz and glamour. Tell us why.
Oh, I'm so glad that the FSB has invited me down to talk to you guys. And free money. There's free money out there for you. And I'll give you some really good hints and tips on how we can do that. And one of the first things I learned about free money was people giving out grants and funding. They don't care about your business. They don't. They have to make sure that your business matches with what they're giving out the money for. And it took me 9 months to realize that the hard way, the frustrating way, that why won't they give me money? It's a great idea, but just match what they're looking for in your grant proposal.
Now, I've been filling grants in. You know, I mentioned earlier that I was one of those that slipped through the net. I'm looking for funding, and I made exactly that mistake. So some top tips on and drilling down into what is it these people want.
Okay, my first top tip, I would say, and again, it took me 9 months. So if you guys are watching this before the 9 month period, then you're doing much better than I did. My first tip is to actually get a business plan together. It doesn't have to be brilliant. It just has to be some rough idea as to what your business is going to do and how you're going to monetize it. Once you've got that, then you can start to look around and try to find sources of money. My next best tip is to contact your local LEP. There's about 37 LEPs or 38 LEPs up and down the country, and they provide free advice to businesses. I love that word, free. Free advice to businesses. The next thing I would do after that is to join a startup accelerator. The one that I think is really dear to my heart, and I'm a mentor there, is the NatWest Accelerator. And they've got 12 hubs up and down the country. And like I said, I love the word free, and these are free support systems that you can tap into. So that's the next thing I would do for that free kind of support. And they will connect you with other like-minded people who can help you to tune your business idea. Because although grants of free money are fantastic, you've got to be able to use that funding for something that is going to benefit a number of people. So they're my first two tips that I would do.
And there are some niches, aren't there, that people have all got good ideas, but if you can jump on the agendas that are current and you'll tell us what they are.
I like
then,
your thinking. I do like your thinking.
Well, I think because I got it wrong. Like most of us, we have to get things wrong before we get things right. And I got it wrong and I'm barking up the wrong tree. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, maybe I can help people grow and maybe that'll attract funding. So tell us where those niches are.
Okay, some great niches. At the moment, the UK and globally, there are something called grand challenge sectors. And these grand challenge sectors include AI, robotics, there's the healthy aging, there's ecosystem. So if you're designing a product, or even if you haven't got a product and you're thinking of, I'm trying to be creative here, you're thinking of a pilot product. So you might be designing clothes as an example, and you're thinking, I'm struggling for funding here. I'm going to create an eco-friendly set of clothing. Then what you can do, you can apply for grant funding down that line. And if it just so happens that some of the equipment that you purchase to create your eco-friendly clothing, you can also use in your standard business, then that's a way of getting around making sure that your business aligns with some of those grand challenges.
And of course, with all grants, they're very specific. So you could spend a lot of time.
Oh, sorry, Dave, I just got something rumbling. It's a warning. It's a top tip. I've got a top tip.
Go
Here's one of my top tips for you. Link up to a university. Most universities have got pots of money that you just wouldn't anticipate. For example, I applied for a university in Birmingham, and their grant, it was called a proximity to discovery. And what kind of a name for a grant is that? But only the universities knew that it was called that. Also, the university, they can plug you into various schemes and programs, and most of these schemes and programs are free of charge. I use universities a lot, and what they can do as well, they can provide you with master's students to help you build your website, to help with your marketing and support. And this is all support that the university will provide, and most of it is free of charge. Sometimes you have to pay for some of the stuff, but the majority is free of charge.
I'm glad you interrupted me, and I'm going to stay on the subject of universities, and then I'm going to come back to the specifics about what you're applying for. But just on university, of course, we always think about money. It's always about the money. That's what we've called this. Show me the money. But it isn't. Sometimes you just might want some research doing or something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is a great place, and another good point, Dave, and that is universities are the best in the UK, in the world, for doing research, market research and so on. And they will provide that support free of charge. I love that word free. I do. I love that word free. While I think about it, another top tip, as we come out of the coronavirus, on the FSB website, I only found out about this morning, and I quickly jotted it down in my notes. There's a hub called the Coronavirus Hub, which will provide free support and funding advice to what government funding is out there to support businesses through this difficult time.
Great. We'll drop some relevant links into the chat about where you can get funding from the FSB and other areas as well. Now, I mentioned about being specific. Now, it's no good you putting a great big plan together for marketing costs when it actually says we will only fund machinery, for example. So you've got to be clever about what you ask for and read the small print.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If there's pots of money are still out there, I'd probably say in the studies that I've found, there's more pots of money that are out there pre-pandemic. The difficulty is there's a lot more people applying for that money. So you've got to make sure when you apply for the money that your proposal matches that eligibility. And if it doesn't match that eligibility, here's another something I learned along the way. If your eligibility doesn't match the funding stream in your area, do a Google search to see if that funding stream is available in another area. And a prime example, it might be there was one called the Birmingham Growth Programme. And I had a conversation with a company based in Middlesbrough, and they weren't eligible for this programme. And I'm sure, I said, we were having a conversation, I'm sure you are thinking of relocating part of your business to the Birmingham, because if you are thinking of relocating, to see if it will work in that area as a pilot, you would be eligible for this funding stream, which is around £10,000. So nod if you were thinking about relocating your business to that area. So this is just another way of making sure that your business has the best opportunities to match with the eligibility grants wherever they are in the UK. For me, my loyalty and my passion is supporting entrepreneurs and supporting innovation. I'm just mad passionate about it. The number of businesses that have launched last year, I think there were 772,000 businesses launched in 2020, compared to 681,000 in 2019. So through a pandemic, through the recession, we have a higher number of businesses that are launching. And if we look at Uber, you look at Airbnb, both of those businesses were launched during a pandemic. So there's some great ideas out there. I'll balance that to say, if you are going to launch a business, make sure you're prepared. So join an accelerator, join the FSB or a similar organization. Contact your LEP, 38 of them, which will provide that free advice. Link up to a university so that they can provide you with free support. In the UK, there's 772,000 businesses launched in 2020. About 250,000 of those businesses will access support. The other 500,000, they won't get any support whatsoever. just make sure that you are one of the 250,000 that gets the support.
I always felt a little bit sort of suspicious. Why would they fund me? This is free money. That's what you
Free money.
Free money that you don't have to pay back. You just have to use it the way that you've been told to, and probably follow some assessment criteria. Joining me back on stage is Sandra. Sandra's got the laptop, which has got all your questions on, and I'm sure there are loads, Sandra, for Drew.
There are. I mean, and thank you, everybody. You've been really helpful. Some people have been posting questions and other people have been putting the link. So, you know, somebody asked what a LEP was and somebody put a link to the LEPs in there, which was absolutely great. So, Drew, you know, you mentioned universities. How would someone go about contacting a university? Where would they start? How would they find out what universities are offering interns and things like that and funding?
I am a Google monster. I'm a Google grant getting monster. I just type in there, type in what your the name of your university and then business development department. It's as simple as that, and something will come up. The other part I would do as well on that is try to build the relationship with individuals within that university. I've got some great connections with the University of Birmingham and Aston University that I use quite regularly. And what they will do, once you try to build a relationship, they will go that extra mile to try to support you. And they will link you with other lecturers, other fellows who will support your idea. Good question, by the way.
Lots of questions here about universities. I'm just scanning through them. So, you know, if somebody's sort of looking for funding, and you've said, you know, be a Google monster, go on there with universities. I suppose that applies for any sort of grants and things. Is there a portal you can go to, or somewhere central you can go to find these grants?
There are a few. The FSB have got a portal for some grant support. The Innovate UK, which is the leading funder for innovation in the UK, they have a portal as well. So there's quite a few out there. There's some other sites where you've got to pay a fee, and that can be useful because they have got all the information of all those grants together. But for me, if you are going to spend some money, and some of those sites are chargeable, the sites that I've seen, if you are going to spend some money on a grant, I would use that money to get paid for somebody to help you write it, because there's so many more people applying for grants. That bar has gone higher and higher. So it is probably going to be, and I hate having to say this because I'm all about free money. I would say pay that little bit extra to get somebody to help you to write that grant.
I must say that we've got about a minute left. Some of those forms, they're a little bit complicated, and I would agree with you to have somebody to bounce off, well, what do they mean by this, especially some of the more technical stuff, and you've got to get that right, otherwise it's reject.
Absolutely. And there are some the Knowledge Transfer Network, Innovate UK group, Innovate UK Edge, some of these universities, they will provide you with free support to help you write those grant applications. But just to give you that extra 10%, sometimes it's worth paying that little bit extra.
And I suppose once you've had somebody help you write it, you've got the basics then to use that in other grants and things like that.
Because they use words that, there's academic words I don't even understand. And they'll put that in there to superpower your grant application to give you a much better chance of being successful.
Brilliant. Drew, you've been absolute, did you say Google monster, but you've been a studio monster today.
Oh, before you get, Dave,
if
anybody wants to, I love supporting entrepreneurs. If you want to sign up to my free money newsletter, and it is free support, because I'm passionate about supporting other entrepreneurs, it's theinnovationfactory.org. And every month I send out some information, some free tips on how you can get the support that you need. I've
got a feeling, Drew, that you're going to be absolutely inundated. We'll drop that link in the chat at some point as well. Drew, it's been a pleasure. You're full of energy, full of ideas, and it's free. That's that word again. I love that, man. Free money. Show me the money. Show him the money. Show me the money. Well, if that hasn't energized you, I doubt anything will. Thanks to Drew Currie for making the short trip to join us today.